Comienza Artistas All Over the World con Verónica Alegre. Encontranos en IGTV y en YouTube.
Hello, we are in Artistas All Over the World, and today we are with Anna Easteden. She is an actress, a model, and also a host. She is half from Finland and from America. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Thanks so much. I'm very good. How are you?
Fine. So you were explaining me before that you are kind of living in LA, but you born in Finland. How is that?
Yeah. So I was born in Finland and I grew up there until I was a teenager. And then I ended up getting a modeling contract and I went to Tokyo, to Japan, and I worked all over Asia and all over Europe. And then I came to America and I lived in Miami and Chicago and Hawaii, and now I live in Los Angeles. So, yeah.
How nice. So you start as a model?
Yeah.
At what age?
Yeah. I think I was 12 when I got my first modeling job. So I was pretty young.
Yeah.
And then I got my first international contract when I was a teenager. I was maybe 15 or 16.
So you started very young being a model. How was to be a teenager model? And you travel a lot to another country.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, no, it was really fun. I was a very brave child and I was a little crazy. So my parents had no choice but to let me go. And it all turned out fine, so it's good. But now it's crazy to think about that because now I have a daughter of my own and I'm like, there's no way I would let her go that young. I'd be going with her now. So, yeah, but it was really, really fun. And I was a very go-getter as a child, that I really wanted to do this and I really was gonna leave home. Because I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere and I was so bored and I was like, I want to be in a big city.
So you live in a farm? In which city of Finland?
Yeah. Well, it's not, people do not even know about this place. The town where I'm from is called Tohmajärvi. It's tiny, has like 5,000 people. And I grew up with 200 cows and and just forest and land and no neighbors basically.
And how was Anna that you passed through being a model to become an actress?
Yeah. So at first I started booking TV commercials where you had to do some acting, and I started doing music videos where you had to do some acting. So I slowly just kind of went that way. And then I started taking acting classes that I took in Chicago and in Los Angeles. And then I did my first play in Chicago. And it just kind of naturally happened. And I still do modeling even right now to this day. So I still have both careers going at the same time.
So which things from being a model, it helps you from to being an actress? Because sometimes it's connected or not. Maybe the relationship with the camera.
Yeah, I think it is part of it is that you get really comfortable being in front of the camera and other people looking at you. So that's one of the things that translates from one to the other. And in some ways, when you work with a photographer, they act kind of like a director because they tell you what to do. So then you learn to convey emotions and convey feelings in a photograph. So that's a step toward acting, even though acting is much harder and more challenging than taking a picture. But yeah.
Maybe did you say that you study acting? Where did you study acting? In LA or maybe in Finland?
In LA, I studied some acting first in Chicago and then in Los Angeles. And then I actually went to UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, and I got a degree in acting in theater from there as well. But that wasn't until later. I was already an actor at that point. So,
So I can imagine that you passed through many techniques, you know, in this acting, I don't know, way or walk. I don't know how to say. But which technique do you love most? Because me too, I'm an actress, and I'm always looking for something new. I don't know if it happens to you the same.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I have studied many acting techniques, like Stanislavski and Meisner and improv. I think improv is very useful for a lot of things, and it makes the scene more genuine in some ways if you do some improv before. But I don't think that I use any one particular technique now. I just kind of use my own Anna technique. And it's kind of a mishmash of everything that I know, and it becomes my own that way. But I guess one technique that I do like to use is just becoming the character before my scene. Like I just tell myself, okay, now I am this role name and I'm not me anymore. And that's kind of the technique that I always use before a scene. And sometimes when I start a scene and I have forgotten to do that, then I'm like, why is this scene going so terribly wrong? And then I realize, oh, I didn't tell myself to now be this other person.
Ah, how nice. So you talk with yourself and say, okay, now I'm going to be, you know, somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Like our order that you leave yourself.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like, let's say my character's name is Laura. I'll be like, okay, be Laura. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm Laura.
How nice, how nice.
So it can be that simple. It can take like 5 seconds and I'm like, okay. But if I forget to do it sometimes, then I'm like, why is this going so weird?
And tell me, for example, if you have a character, do you start with your, I don't know, with some body things, or maybe some voice things, or I don't know, something else?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on the character, really. Especially if it's some kind of a period piece that it's from a different era. I think in those cases, the clothes do a lot. Like you see the clothes that you wear and it kind of gives you a different posture or different feeling. And sometimes it's the clothes that gives me that. Sometimes it's just I start to think about that character and I start thinking as that character, like what would they think? Like I'll go for a walk and I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna walk as my character and go for a walk, and I think my thoughts as that person and see how they think differently than I do. So sometimes it's that kind of process, more from thoughts, and sometimes it's clothes, and sometimes it could be even makeup. Like when I played junkies or like prostitutes or some
I saw Junkie. How nice.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's so beautiful.
Thanks. So in that case, it kind of also comes from the makeup, because you look so different from what I look like normally. So it depends on the character.
A very dark character.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is acting in your life? Because you are also mom also.
Yeah. Yeah. I am. What is acting in my life?
Yeah.
Like do you? Well, if I didn't have acting, I don't know what else I would really do. So like if I think of like, okay, quitting acting, I don't think I could do it. Even though being a mom, I've done it a lot less because I've been at home with my daughter a lot. But still, when I think about it, it's in a way a thing where I can do things that I normally wouldn't do. You know, like normally wouldn't be able to do. So it's a fun way to explore different careers, you know, playing different flight attendants and playing lawyers and judges and, you know, things that I would have maybe liked to have tried in real life, but I get to try them for a few weeks or a few days.
And then you moved from Chicago to LA to become more an actress because you have more chances in LA, no?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
how is that there is more chances in LA?
Yeah, so there is just many of the studios in America are in Los Angeles, and they do a lot of casting here. All the main roles are cast in Los Angeles. So it's good, but there's a lot more competition also. And I always had the dream of one day going to Los Angeles anyway. So it was just something I had to do, just for myself.
That's nice. So you are living in a dream.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, a partial dream. Maybe not all of my dreams have come true, but I'm here.
Yeah. So you act also in the series of Octavio Masha that I sent him a kiss because he gives me your contact, the call. How was that character?
Yeah, that was fun. Octavio Maya, he had written the character for me, and he actually based it, I believe, in this other Finnish movie that he had seen, and we talked about it, and the character was his idea, and I thought it was a very good idea because it was very doable for me by myself. That was filmed actually where I'm from.
How is the show business in Finland? Do you have chances there to live as an actress or not? How is that?
Yeah. I think there is in my opinion, there's actually a lot of production in Finland because the country's so small, only 5 million people, and they still make movies and they have lots of TV shows, and so there is work. And I'm actually going there next week for the next 4 months, and I already have one job at least in June that I'll be shooting in Finland, and it's a TV series in which I'll play a smaller character, but they have very professional production companies and production teams there for sure.
First, at the beginning, you told me that you were working when you were very young in Tokyo as a model. How was your experience to living in Tokyo? In which year was that?
Yeah, so I loved it. When was I there? Gosh, in the 1990s. I don't remember what year it was, but in the 1990s, early to mid 1990s. And I loved it. I ended up loving the Japanese culture. I had such a good time there, and I felt like the people were treating you so nicely. Very polite people, and it was awesome. And it was really scary for me at first because I had traveled some with my parents, but never for work to another country. And I showed up in Tokyo, and the second day I was there, I already had a job. And I had to go there by myself. I took the subway there, and I found the place. And then for lunch, they gave me chopsticks to eat the food with, and I didn't know how to eat with chopsticks. And I was like, oh no, I don't know how to get this. I couldn't do it.
I'm not to eat in this country.
I'm like, and I was so embarrassed. And then they had to send the photographer's assistant to a store to go buy me a fork. I was so embarrassed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really need to learn how to do this because this is not good. And I remember the first day at the job, there was another model there, and I remember just watching her and being like, what is she doing? How does she do this? And she does it so perfectly. And what am I supposed to do? I'm like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. So I just copied. I was like, okay, I'll do that too. How she posed with things. And so it was really scary at first, but then it ended up becoming really an amazing experience for me.
In this profession, did you have or pass through a very hard moment? This moment where you don't have a job, you don't have money, because it's very unstable job, this, or not?
Yeah, absolutely. In the beginning of my modeling career, I actually did really, really well, and I made a lot of money. But then at some points, it's been hard. like you really don't have any control over whether you have work or not. Like you keep auditioning, and if people just don't want to hire you, then that you don't have anything. It's hard. I think I've been luckier than most that I've consistently had some work, but there's been times when hasn't been any work, and there's been times when you're like, okay, what should I eat for dinner? Okay, I will eat plain pasta with ketchup.
Can you tell us some advice for auditions?
Yeah, that's hard because you never know what the casting director or the director or producers are thinking. You don't know what they want. So it's almost like you just have to give them and do the performance in a way that you think is right. And if they like your brand of this, then they're gonna hire you. I think it's important to go in there and give it your all, because you only have that one chance each time. And I think it's okay to ask them questions if they're open to answering them, so you can get some kind of an idea of what they are looking for, and then you could try to give them that. But that's my advice, is just to go for it.
And for example, Anna, do you think that the outfit is important for the auditions also, or not? How do you manage this?
Yes, I do. I always dress as the character, or close to the character. Not necessarily, like if they call for a police officer, I don't go and find a police uniform. In that case, I would maybe wear like a collared shirt that's blue.
Ah, okay, yeah.
You know, so it kind of gives a hint of that, but it's not the exact thing. But definitely, if they ask for a housewife, I would wear something that a housewife would wear. If they ask for a mom, I'll wear something that's pretty comfortable. And then if you get a call back, I think it's important to always wear the same clothes you wore for the original audition and not change.
I like that. For the callback, the same clothes. Okay.
Same clothes, because they might have wanted to hire you because you wore a red shirt. You don't know. They might be like, that girl in the red shirt, we want her. And then you show up in a blue shirt and they're like, where's that girl in the red shirt? You don't know.
Yes. Yes, yeah. True. And can you share with us some auditions that you think, oh my God, that was a good audition? I don't know, some day that you maybe break something or improve something new?
Yeah. See, good auditions. I don't know. For me, I think I've done the auditions for so long and so many of them that now the way it works for me is I go to the audition, I audition, I leave, and I forget about it immediately. Like somebody might ask me the next day, what was the audition for? I'm like, I don't know. Like, what did you do there? I don't remember. Because it is, for me, mentally, it's easier to forget them instantly than think about it for a week. Am I gonna get the job? Am I gonna get the job? Yes. Because most likely you won't get the job. The chances are much higher that they will never call you back. So I don't want to keep it in my head and think about it, because then I just get depressed that I didn't get the job. So then when I forget about them instantly, if I get the job, it's an amazing surprise, because then they call you and I'm like, what is this audition? When did I go there? And then it's like, whoa, yay.
Tell me, it was hard for you as a woman to manage in the show business? I mean, talking about Me Too movement and all the things that happens in the show business.
Right. It is tough. And it's especially tough if you're pretty, because you never know if what people want from you. Like if somebody calls for a lunch meeting, you don't know if they really are interested in you as an actor, or if they're interested in you just because you look good, or are a woman. I don't know. Luckily for me, nothing super bad has ever happened, but I really feel for those women who've had tough situations happen, and that's come into the media in the last couple of years.
How is feminism nowadays that you live in LA? Maybe we'll talk about Finland also. How is that? How do you feel as a woman in this war? You know, sometimes we have to fight a lot, maybe the double as a man.
Yes, no, absolutely. And coming from Finland, women are actually more equal to men.
Wow.
Compared to America.
Ah.
In Finland, it's more equal, and I grew up thinking that we're all equal, and I grew up in that. And then coming to America, then all of a sudden I realized here they don't think the same way, that here I am somehow lower.
And how do you feel that? In which things do you feel they make you feel that?
As in pay. Sometimes pay is less because you're a woman, and even though you're doing the same amount of hours and same amount of job and similar character, and you're a woman, you get paid less. And actually it's funny that I come from the modeling industry first, because I think modeling is one of the only professions in the world where women actually get paid better than men do.
Yeah, it's true, no? It's true.
Yes, yeah. So I had that experience, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, how much are you getting paid? So that's interesting. Yeah.
And I want to talk about the series that you filmed, Steam, Who Wants to Be a Superhero, and Bones. How was your experiences in this series? How is to act in a series? Because you go maybe from Monday to Friday to the set, or not?
Yeah. Bee Sting, I think I did 4 episodes maybe, and it's a lot of fun where you get a job where it's ongoing, because then you feel more relieved that you have ongoing work and don't have to worry as much. So that's amazing. And it's fun to work with the same people again and again. So those are amazing, good points. But then also I've done series like 2.5 Men, where I just did 1 week on the show, and then you almost feel like you're going into somebody else's house, and then you're there as a guest for a week, and you do what they do, and then you leave. So that's also a very cool experience to go to work on a show like that.
And you also work in a soap opera, American soap opera, Passion and Days of Our Life.
Yeah.
Do you like the soap operas?
Yes, that taught me to be quick and fast, because they don't wait. And they don't give you another take. Like, if the take is good enough, they're gonna take it, and you don't get a chance to make it better. So one thing that I learned from there is that if you feel like the scene is not going well, you have to screw it up really badly. So then they will give you another take. So at the end, you just do something completely horrific that they can't keep. So then they're like, okay, let's do it again. And you're like, okay, good. So, and those usually, if you do it well the first time, they're just going to keep it and then say moving on. And then you're like, wait, I could do it better. And then that's it.
Yeah, that's very hard as an actor to say, I did like a shit, I want to do it again, and nobody said, okay, let's do it again. No. So
yeah, you're like, oh wait, and then the camera's over there, and you're like,
And Anna, how do you do to memorize all the letters, all the things?
Yeah.
You have a
memorization for me has gotten easier and easier the more I do it. I remember in the beginning, it was really hard. it took me a really, really long time to memorize things. But now I notice the better the writing is, the easier it is to remember. If the writing is really good, I literally now have to read it a couple of times and I'm like, I know this. And I don't really have a technique for it. It's just practice, and then it just all of a sudden it clicks, and then it's easy for you to remember things. Usually if I don't have somebody at home who can read lines for me, I record the other person's line on my phone and I say them and leave gaps. So then I can press play and I can do my lines while hearing the other person's lines. Because I think it's important to remember that the other person will be speaking, because if you just memorize your own lines, you get confused because you didn't have that other person's words coming to you.
You have to remember the last part, the last word, the last two words of another character, just to have it. So I want to talk about Finland. What do you like most from Finland, from your country?
Gosh, now I am really appreciative of their good the air quality. That's so amazing, because in LA it's terrible. So I love the air quality. I like it that it's so clean, and I like it that it's so peaceful, at least where I live. And of course I miss my mom's cooking. And I almost like Finland now better than I did when I was living there. You know, like I appreciate the good things that they have.
Yeah, sometimes it happens that. Can you tell us the name of our program in Finland? Is Artists All Over the World.
Oh, what it is in Finnish? Like you want me to say in Finnish?
Sorry. Yeah.
Artists all over the world in Finnish. It would be artist is easy because it's artistit. But all over the world, joka puolella maailmassa tai artistit maailmassa. Artistit ympäri maailman. There we go. That's artistit ympäri maailman. Perfect.
And what do you like most from LA, from United States?
Well, United States is huge, and LA is so different compared to some of the other places in America. I am vegan, and I eat only vegan food, and in LA it's so easy to be vegan because there's so many vegan restaurants. So I love that about LA. But in some cities in America, it's impossible. There is like no vegan food at all. So, and I like the weather in LA, except sometimes in the summer it gets too hot. But most of the time I really like the weather, and I like easygoing people, and usually people in LA are pretty easygoing.
And you never think in being a production, or maybe write something to play or to do a film?
Yeah, no, I have written some stuff, and I really need to be more of a go-getter in that area as well to get some of them produced, because I think they'd be good. And it would be really, really fun to make something that is written by me. And I've actually done some short films that I've written that were comedic, but it would be fun to do a longer project also.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. I wish you the best. Good luck there in LA and also in Finland, where you are going to travel now in these days.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And I want to tell you, I told you before we started the interview that I really loved, I was in Buenos Aires for 6 weeks, and I really loved it there. It was so much fun. And I loved going to restaurants there, and I loved it was really, really fun time for me. And I was working there on a show that was then came on TV in Finland. So yeah.
Well, I hope you come back again to Buenos Aires.
I want to.
Let me know if you are here in LA, in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, for sure I will.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.